The participants in the workplace relations system is a really big topic, but there's actually not that many questions potentially that we could get asked. So look, the main question we're going to get asked here, possibly, is describe, explain, or outline the roles of the workplace relations participants. So that basically means what participants or parties are involved in the workplace relations system. So on the one side, we've got employees versus employers. Now, what we can do is hopefully they can negotiate together, without any outside involvement, but that's not what happens. So what happens is employees and employers get together with workplace relations, but then employees often get together in what's called a trade union, and employers often get together in what's called an employer association. Then you kind of got in the middle this human resource manager who works for the employer but is also an employee. At the top, you need the referee. Who came up with the rules and who enforces the rules? Well, that's the government. And it's kind of got three parts to it: the Fair Work Commission, the Fair Work Ombudsman, and the courts. So all we've got to do is go through each of these and figure out what they do and what their role is. So let's start with the trade union. It's formed to represent and protect the rights of workers, and basically it represents a group of employees, usually from the same or similar industry. And basically it gives those employees more power to negotiate with their employers than if they did it on their own. You negotiate as a group. So some examples: the CFMEU represents employees in building and construction. The Shop Distributive and Allied Employees Association represents retail, fast food and warehousing workers. There's over 200,000 members in that. And the Australian Education Union represents teachers. So what's the role of the trade union? That's what our question is. What's the role of the participants? It is to negotiate and bargain collectively to create an award. We'll look at that in the next video, for all workers in that industry. They also provide support and advice to local union shop stewards and workers. So if you've got a query, you can go to your local shop steward or straight to the union. Provide assistance, support, and information to individual workers. So if you've got a query, you can go to them, even just their website. There's a lot of info on there. And also, they act as an official spokesperson to the media on behalf of union members. Create media campaigns that are in the interest of the union members. What about the employer associations? Well, best way to think about it is it's basically a union, but for employers. So they can group together as well. So one example is the Minerals Council of Australia. That is, the big mining companies get together. We've got the Australian Retailers Association. 5,000 retail businesses get together, and also master builders. So not the builders like the workers, we're talking about the employers, the building businesses. They get together. What is their role? Their role is to represent employers when they negotiate contracts with the unions and employees. Also to represent them in court cases. These things might not be able to get resolved at the workplace and go to court, so we need someone to represent us against trade unions and employees. Provide assistance, support and info to their members or employers, and also to act as an official spokesperson. These people create media campaigns too. Then we get the human resource manager, who's kind of stuck in the middle. So basically their job is to increase the efficiency of both the employees and the business. So we've got them on, if you look at workplace relations, they've got the unions and employer associations, but the human resource manager works for the employer, but is also an employee. So they're basically just trying to get both parties to, have the best possible outcome. So their role is to act as an intermediary between employees, employers, and trade unions. Represent employers when they do negotiate, but you might get queries from both parties. Ensure management provides employees with correct wages and entitlements, and if there is a dispute, they actually represent the employer against the trade unions and employees. Lastly, we've got the government. So there's kind of three parts to it. There's the Fair Work Commission. That's the government agency which comes up with the laws and enforces them. Also the Fair Work Ombudsman. So that's like an information sort of office you can go to get info if you're an employee or employer. And then you got the courts. Don't worry about this big definition here, but the government is the courts where workplace relations disputes are resolved. So what is their role? Their role is so we'll call them the Fair Work Commission. The name often changes depending on the government of the day, but at the moment that's what it's called. They create the minimum safety net of wages and conditions. Remember our 10 national employment standards, so that's a safety net. Every contract has to be better than that, so that's their role. They provide assistance to help employees and employers get together to resolve disputes. They also have this Office of the Fair Work Ombudsman. Don't need to know that so much, but basically, they're a place that you can go to if you've got a workplace relations query. And lastly, they are a court. They make legally binding decisions to resolve disputes between employees and employers.